Dyson Logistics have been on board with SharkCast since day one, and because of that and their excellent service, we are proud to be associated with them. Dyson Logistics provides tailored logistical solutions to meet your individual client needs and is set apart by its personalized service. Dyson is a strong worldwide agent network, enabling highly competitive rates, and I should also point out their head honcho is a lifelong season ticket holder of the mighty Cronulla Sharks. Find them online, www.dysonlogistics.com, or call them on 02 8339 1844. Dyson Logistics, service delivered.
Sharkies! Sharkies! Fafita tries to crash his way over, he does! Fafita got the ball over the line!
And to all you people back in the Shire, turn your porch lights off because we're coming home with a trophy.
Hey there, welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. My name is Sam Shinazzi, I'm OG from 2015, and this is our 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, ninth season of SharkCast as of now. Ninth season, here we go. Maybe the end of the regular season last year was ninth, but let's just say from here on in, it's a ninth season. Let's go for it. Can't wait to bring a whole lot of content to you this year, weighing up a few different ways and ideas and plans, but we're back into SharkCast pod mode. Can't wait just to get into the season that's going to be. The Sharks are in for a big one. They got a lot to, I guess, prove that they weren't one-year wonders, and it's going to be a great year. I think that there's going to be a lot of success. And obviously, we'll see how that goes as the weeks progress. We've also got the NRLW team. We'll be covering that as much as we can as well. So a lot to look forward to this year for Cronulla. And as far as the podcast goes, a lot to look forward to as well. Get in touch with us, sharkcastpod@gmail.com. If you want to find us on social media, give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you want to write to us, where we'll see it definitely and everything, and we'll be able to look back on it, DM us and consider that as correspondence as well, of course. We also have our YouTube channel, which at the moment isn't getting a lot of attention from us, but basically we're just uploading every audio episode we do from here on in, because we did get some requests from a bunch of people to get the shows onto YouTube. So for the moment, it's not a visual thing, it's just audio, but that is quite a popular way to listen to podcasts, is what I'm finding out. So to all you YouTubers, hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to those of you who believe it's a brand new day, brand new year, brand new era. People that have their resolutions and their dreams and aspirations. Happy New Year. Wish you all the best. If you are on the other side of the coin, where you just think it's another day, another year, business as usual, you know what? Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you to those of you who've been buying the merchandise. Really appreciate that. It's been great to see some of that and about even, and getting some really good feedback about the quality as well as the speed and turnaround of the product. So Scott at Rugby League Merch is your person to go and find and seek out all that we have up there. We've got a bunch of different t-shirts. We've got a hoodie. We've got a hat. We've got a coffee mug, very important. And I think there's a beer stubby holder thingy-majiggy as well. So check it out, rugbyleaguemerch.com. We'll have more designs and ideas coming as the months and years go on. But for the moment, really proud of that. And as usual, if there's any issues or dramas with anything, let me know. But at the moment, it's all running smoothly. So super grateful to those of you who have been interested in even just having a look.
So on the last, it's Hines, and he's going to go to the air again. And oh my goodness! Ronaldo! Mulatalo! High above them!
The Royal Motor Yacht Club Port Hacking is a hidden gem of the Shire, situated on the banks of the beautiful Port Hacking. It's a great place to catch up with friends, celebrate your birthday or any special occasion, and they always show the NRL live on the big screens. They also have live acoustic music on weekends. Yachty's Bistro is open 7 days and nights for lunch and dinner, And they also do a phenomenal breakfast on weekends. If you mention SharkCast, you get a free garlic bread, baby. The RMYC Port Hacking, proud sponsors of this podcast and big supporters of the Cronulla Sharks. Check out their website, rmycph.com.au. They've got a Facebook page, or you could go old school and call them on 02 9523 9300. Short, sharp episode coming up, and that is mainly to catch up on some correspondence. So the biggest piece of news, and at the moment it's more rumour than news, as I record, that Lachie Miller wants out of Cronulla. And the reason he wants out is because Newcastle are chasing him really hard, which they have been for quite a while now, and they want him to play fullback, week-to-week, regular NRL fullback action, so they can move Kalen Ponga to 5'8". I don't have complete accurate mail that he has requested a release from the Sharks. It has been widely speculated, so I'm not going to say that he has, because at the moment I don't know that he has. But it is out there, and you can find it easily enough, the speculation. It does all make sense. Newcastle need a fullback. They've been wanting him for a long time. We turned them down already in the past. He would like to play regular NRL football like any footballer would. I do know he loves it down at Cronulla. I know that he's training really hard. I know that there's no dramas as far as, him getting on with everyone. He's one of the crew and much loved and very talented, very respected, particularly the way that he's come to Cronulla from a rugby union sevens background and had a really strong 2022. Both in the Jets and in Cronulla when he got his chance. And I guess that's the deciding factor there for him and for the club. He wants his chance of regular football. He's under 1-year contract still. He's our, at the moment, backup fullback. Now, things can change, whether it be form, whether it be injury, whether it be just the way the team lineup is week to week. I think that Will Kennedy at the moment probably has first shot at fullback. But if Lachie is lights out and Will isn't, then he's there to jump in and play fullback. I'm not suggesting Will won't be ready to go. With a strong off-season, some good trial form, I think that Will Kennedy gets the nod. I really do. Lachie's talented. Very different talent to Will Kennedy. We've discussed that quite a lot on the show. But it's, should the Sharks let him go? Should Darren Mooney allow the contract to go through and whoever else is in charge of that kind of responsibility? We would like something in return. I can tell you that if Cronulla was to allow this to happen, yes, it frees up some salary cap. Not a great deal, but enough to probably help buy someone else or extend someone's contract to an extent. But ideally, Cronulla wants to get someone back from Newcastle in return. And at the moment, there's not a lot of options or people being offered up. So that's a bit of a problem to start with. And then it's probably down to not so much ethics, but do you let him go and allow him to play week to week where he wants to just be a regular footballer? Or do you stick tight like you did with Luke Metcalf? You say, no, you're a Shark and we're going to probably need you at some point in the season. And it's next man up, we know that. And it's not about 17 players, it's a whole squad that makes this work. And we've seen that. We've seen that in our most successful season in 2016, that we had players playing one game that made the world of difference. So if you've got a Lachie Miller stepping in for 5 games, it's going to help. So what side of the fence are you on? Are you on the side where you let him go to Newcastle and play regular football and go, all the best? Or are you on the other side where you say, no, you're a Shark and respectfully, you're going to be a Shark, and if you want to play week to week regular first grade, then just play your butt off in the trials, train the house down every week, wait for your chance and make the most of it. I think that we will hear something sooner rather than later about whether he's going or not. I don't think they'll let this fester on too much longer. I mean, from the Sharks' point of view, there's not much to say. It's either yes or no. It's all in Newcastle's court as far as they're pretty desperate. So whether we can get something out of that or not, yet to be determined. Who do you like at Newcastle? Who would you try and poach off them? Would you be romantic and try and get Tyson to come back home? Tyson Frizzell. I like the idea. Big fan of him as a player and a human, but his best strength for me is an edge player. I don't like it when he's just a prop. But we need props. We don't need edge players. So I'd be confused what we'd do with him if he came along. Certainly wouldn't say no, but I don't think it's as straightforward as years gone by with Tyson Frizzell. And a lot of other players have been brought up and mentioned, and none of them blow me away, to be honest. So wait and see on that one. Before you even hear this podcast, maybe things have happened. I'm not sure. Maybe you won't hear anything from the Cronulla Sharks. Maybe they will just shut up shop and it's business as usual, and that means he's staying. But what would you do? Let us know. SharkCastpod@gmail.com. Which way would you go? Would you let Lachie go so he can play week to week? Because he probably at this stage is our backup, or would you keep him because we need good backups? And also, would you keep him and say to him, go out and win the fight for the spot you want to have? Do you see him as a utility off the bench? We've spoken about that. We probably don't see him as a winger, to be fair, given what happened in the South's finals game, but hey, they were all off their game that day anyway. Watch this space on Lachie Miller. The Royal Motor Yacht Club Port Hacking is a hidden gem of the Shire, situated on the banks of the beautiful Port Hacking. It's a great place to catch up with friends, celebrate your birthday or any special occasion, and they always show the NRL live on the big screens. They also have live acoustic music on weekends. Yachty's Bistro is open 7 days and nights for lunch and dinner, and they also do a phenomenal breakfast on weekends. If you mention SharkCast, you get a free garlic bread, baby. The RMYC Port Hacking, proud sponsors of this podcast and big supporters of the Cronulla Sharks. Check out their website, rmycph.com.au. They've got a Facebook page, or you could go old school and call them on 02 9523 9300.
Carney. Was that played at? Fafita's chipped ahead. Try to the Sharks. A miracle win. What about that?
SharkCast is supported by the best and most honest real estate agent in the Sutherland Shire, Jason Hawes from Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. He's an expert in the Caringbah region and has his eye all across the Shire. Lifelong Sharks fan and supporter of this podcast, if you're looking to buy or sell in the region, the person you need to be talking to is Jason Hawes from Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. Call him on 0410 417 450. That's 0410 417 450. Jason Hawes, Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. Welcome back to SharkCast Pod. I've got some correspondence to catch up on. Apologies that we haven't read some of these out on air. And if I haven't replied to you personally, then I will try to do that. If I haven't, please consider this as a reply and somewhat of an apology for the lateness. If I've read any of these out by chance, then let's just go again. But I don't think I have. First one is from Tony. Tony says, I've heard a lot from Shark supporters regarding their disappointment about Will Kennedy's finals performances. It was a massive ask to expect him to come back humming, as I believe that fullback is the hardest position to return to after a long layoff. Pappenhausen of the Storm also struggled upon his return in 2021 when he pushed Nico to the bench. Cheers, Tony. Tony, I don't know if we've answered this or not, but because we just spoke about Will before the break, I thought it was topical. I'm actually with you on this one, I think that I allow allowances for certain players, which is probably hypocritical, but for me, a guy like Will Kennedy, I've said this 10 to 20 times on the podcast since the finals, or even leading up to the finals. Will Kennedy, to me, is a guy that needs to find his form. I don't think he just runs out in the field and is necessarily ready to rock at 10 out of 10 kind of capabilities. Right or wrong, I just think that's how he is at the moment. That may change with some maturity and growth, I should say. But I'm with you. I thought that he probably wasn't going to be lights out first week back. And unfortunately, first week back was against the Cowboys in that infamous finals game. So, yeah, it was a long layoff and certainly not his best season. But I saw a lot of good stuff early in the year, even throughout the year, that allows me to want to see what he's going to do in the off-season, in the trials, and in the first month of the 2023 season. So I'm with you on that, Tony. Thank you so much for being in touch. Adam wrote to us, and Adam said, I finally finished the last couple of episodes from last season, so the finals and the aftermath of all that is what he's referring to. Always a good listen while walking the dog, he says. In regards to our friend Jardine, he says the Sharks need to play at Shark Park. More regular season games to Allianz or somewhere else, and the novelty will wear off quickly. People love going to the footy at Shark Park. Less is more, I say. And that's in regards to our regular guest host Jardine, our good friend, who loves Shark Park as much as anyone, I can assure you of that. But he is a man of the times, and he's a man of the future, and he has expressed if they can't upgrade Shark Park to something of a modern environment, then he would be willing to move the Sharks elsewhere in the city of Sydney where they could do that. And we've had that back and forth quite a lot. I do razz him a lot about that, but I have to say, he doesn't want us to move from Shark Park. He wants Shark Park to be better. Adam says 1% Music, The Killers, Mr. Brightside, which you mentioned, Sam, in an early episode. My band had to learn it for a friend's birthday party. Can I just say the opening riff is one of the most diabolically complicated things I've ever had to learn to play. Impossible on an acoustic. I ended up working a cheat method using an open D chord. I read it was the first song the Killers ever wrote. Watched them cover the Oil's Forgotten Years, the AFL Grand Final a few years ago. Incredible. Cheers, Adam. Yeah, I missed them on this tour, Adam. I've never seen them play. I almost went to the midnight special concert they did after their main concert. They did a midnight kind of smaller show at a new venue, and I just couldn't make it, so I didn't get a ticket. But I heard both shows were incredible, and they're a great live band. And I've heard that as well, that the first song that the singer Brandon heard was on a demo tape that he got from the guitarist. The guitarist kind of formed the band. They met up, they hung out. He took the tape away, and the first thing on the cassette or the CD or whatever it was Mr. Brightside. So that's pretty amazing. Thank you, Adam. Great to hear from you as usual. Hope you're well. Neil wrote a couple of messages to us, so I'll sort of split them up, and he said, I want to thank you for a great year on SharkCast. The insight and knowledge is top-notch, and your choice of guests have been enthralling to listen to. And there's some other talk about WWE, and then Neil wrote to us after listening to the latest episode prior to this, and that episode was the 12 Wishes of Christmas. If you haven't heard it, please go back and have a listen. It's basically the majority of the regular co-hosts and myself in the one room, kind of, and we do our annual 12 Wishes for the Sharks, and it was a lot of fun, and hopefully it's a good listen, so go check that out. But Neil also says, I want to let you know that my best Christmas New Year's present was sitting down with headphones on, listening to you and the All-Star cast you put together for the 12 Wishes of Christmas episode. Love the Christmas feel with the music before each wish. I felt like I was there with you guys. I loved everyone's wishes, especially Gary's. He says, thanks again for the much-needed footy fix I needed for Christmas. It really cheered me up. I can't wait for this season to kick off. Up, Cronulla. Regards, Neil. Thank you so much, Neil. Appreciate your support. Appreciate you saying that. It's really lovely to hear. We definitely put a bit of work into that episode. As fun as it was also logistically not a challenge by any means, but a lot of the guys travelled, and TK did a bunch of the tech stuff, and I edited it, and thank you very much is what I'm trying to say. So we had a lot of fun, I can assure you of that. So Alan's written a few emails to us, which has been great. They're quite detailed, but one topic that you were pretty passionate about, Alan, was you wanted to keep, or I should say you wanted to get back Bronson Xerri, which is not happening. He signed with the Bulldogs officially. You said surely with him being a local product and everything he's done with us already, that we should have been able to sign him. I read that other clubs had approached him, so where was Darren Mooney? They should get their minds out of the past and get on with it and concentrate on the future of the team. I hope Bronson doesn't come back and bite us on the bum. So that was one of your main points Alan, and we've discussed that a little bit in the last few episodes, but just to clarify, I personally have no issue with them not signing Bronson Xerri. I think that, I know what your angle is, that he's made a mistake, he's going to make up for it, but it's just a few ways to look at it. I actually don't think it was the fact that it was a drug incident and the Sharks were a bit worried about the look of allowing him back in the club. I think that's something, but I don't think that was the bulk of why they didn't. I think they're just moving on for different reasons. They're moving on. He had his chance. He blew it majorly. It did affect the club. But the club have some really good kids coming through. We're of a belief that Kale Iro will get a shot at some point in the centres, and he's a really good player. And if you bring in Bronson Xerri and put him in there, then you're holding back someone like Iro. Now, Iro still has a lot to prove, but it's there and it's ready to go. Different player to Bronson. Bronson's a lot more explosive. Bronson's defence needs a lot of work. I'm not sure how that's looking these days with a number of years off the paddock. Maybe they thought it would take a while for him to get back into playing week-to-week physical rugby league. He hasn't done that for a long time. Maybe they just weren't after the style of football that he brings. I'm not sure. We probably won't ever know. I don't really see the coach sitting down and talking about it because it's not something that they're stuck on. They're moving on. They've moved on. They would have made their decision a long time ago. I don't think they made their decision a week before the Dogs signed him. No doubt that he should be in demand. He's a great young footballer. I see the world moving on for Cronulla without him. Will he come back to bite us? I would think he might score a try or two against us because he's going to score a try or two in his career when he comes back next season. Not this season coming up, but next season. You have to remember he wasn't part of Craig Fitzgibbon's DNA or his pathways or his upbringing. He was part of the Sharks, absolutely, from a young age. Very gifted player. We saw him grow from through the ranks. We saw it year by year. And he came into grade early and he's fantastic. But time does move on. We move on. Just because he's a Sharks junior doesn't mean he has some God-given right to come back and play with us. I mean, it's not like he played years and years and years with the Sharks in NRL. He was in the junior ranks. Every year, junior ranks at every club. They lose players. We kept him. We developed him. He was lights out for us most weeks. Not every week, but most weeks. You could see the potential there. It was exciting. I love the way that he plays. That's what I think a centre should be in the NRL, that explosiveness. But, A, he blew it. B, that I think more importantly, that was a long time ago. It was years ago. He's only young. He's 24 now, I think, or he'll be 24 when he gets back into grade. So he's got it all ahead of him. He can pick up his life, and I think that's awesome. I think that everyone deserves second chances. But it's not up to Cronulla to necessarily provide that second chance, and I'm okay with it. I've stated before, I'd be okay if they'd signed him. I'm sure some of you are going, oh, Shinazzi's sitting on the fence again. I'm not. I'm not sitting on the fence. What I'm saying is I'm okay with them not signing him. That's what I'm saying. If they'd signed him, I would have been very supportive. But they didn't, and we're moving on. I know Alan's not the only one thinking that, but he's definitely corresponded with us about that, and I wanted to address it specifically to Alan. Brendan says, I enjoyed every minute of the Christmas episode. I hope Fitzy is listening. I'm sure he is. Love you, pod. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year from Brendan. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Same to you. And not sure if Fitzy's listening, but we'll get to him at some point, so that's all good. Plenty are listening, though, and we appreciate that. Nicholas wrote to us and he said, Happy 2023 and hello from a Sharks fan in Hong Kong. So Nicholas is in Hong Kong and he says, you rightly point out that Moylan had a surprisingly good 2022 and helped make Hines an effective halfback. But do you think he also limits the team due to his lack of a kicking game? By contrast, in his limited opportunities as a starting half, I think Braden Trindle has shown he's a very good boot on him, can run and is physically quite big, so not a defensive liability like a lot of other halves. Do you think we might need to look to Hines and Trindle as our long-term halves combination? Cheers, Nicholas. Great point. Firstly, thank you for writing and thank you for listening from such a faraway place. Really appreciate hearing from our overseas listeners. We know there's a lot of you and we just love hearing from you. So thank you very much for that. Happy New Year to you as well. Some very interesting questions are going to be raised probably towards the end of the year, if not middle of next year, and that is the future of Matt Moylan. Now, you specifically ask if we need to look to Hines and Trindle as long-term halves. I think that Trindle is still a work in progress. I think it's a bit too early to lock him in as that long-term future. I want to see more in the top grade, and I want to see more, however that has to happen, of him playing halfback, not so much coming off the bench. Then I think we'll get a true grasp on how he goes week to week at the top level. We've seen him play a lot for Newtown and do really well. We've seen him do really well at the NRL level. No disputing that at all. He's done really well a lot of the time he's played first grade. Whether he's ready to be announced as the future, I'm not so sure. To your point on Moylan, and does it limit the team with his lack of a kicking game? I don't think it helps. It's something that I do notice every week. It's something that we talk about from time to time. I think that his general kicking game has improved. I do. And he's trying really hard with his kicking game. He's not a natural kicker. Doesn't mean he can't do it. But definitely kicking for distance seems to be more of the issue than kicking short. So Nico does the majority of that. Does it really well. Blake Borelli has a role which isn't utilised as much as I would like. And hopefully this season that will be amplified. When he's playing first grade, Wade Graham can kick the ball. But Nico does the bulk of it. We've seen that. And it doesn't... I think at the moment it's fine. Like, I don't think it's a problem because Nico is such a great kicker of the ball. And I guess you want him kicking the majority of the time, being the dominant kicker anyway, because he's so good. But I would like to see Moylan improve. That's for sure. Or keep on improving, because we did see some improvement last year. But I think that his downfall is his kicking game. His defence, Moylan, he's not making every tackle, but he puts his body on the line, and his defence is fine for a very small player playing in the halves. His defence is what you expect, if not a little bit more. It's okay. At least in the last year, it's been okay. He puts his body on the line. So for me, his main thing to work on is his kicking game. And how much they want to do that and take pressure off Nico, that's a question for the coach. But I agree with you that it is limiting. Whether it limits the team, at the moment I would say no. I'd say they're getting away with it and they're doing quite well because the kicking game is definitely not a problem. From what I've seen of Cade Dykes, and there's a lot of different ways this can go, with form, with injury, with the lineup of the team. But at the moment, if you're not going to go to market for a 5/8 once Matt Moylan's off contract in 2 seasons, then I think you're looking at Cade Dykes as your next 5/8 at the moment. I think he's a little bit ahead of Trindle as far as long-term prospect. I'm not ruling out Trindle. I'm not putting a line through him. What he does well, but I think that Dykes might give you a bit more variety. And that is never a bad thing. A long way to go before we decide what's happening with Cade Dykes, but at the moment, if I'm playing Fantasy CEO, he's my next 5/8 if we don't go to market for someone quite big. Nicholas, thanks so much for being in touch. Take care over there. We have got a bunch of mail from Cam, from Stacey. Who else have I got here? From Kieran and from Ben about the merchandise, and really appreciate all that kind of feedback. So keep it coming. Daniel wrote to us and he said, thanks team, because on his Spotify he listened to a whole bunch of minutes with us. So thank you, Daniel, for being in touch. Lee says, can Wade Graham play the Isaiah Yeo role, connecting both sides of the field? And I'm thinking maybe that would be as a bench player when he comes on the field. He definitely has that ability, Lee. It's going to be fascinating to watch how Wade Graham handles this probably last season for him at the club, and how the club handles it as well. Yeah, we're not sure how that's going to go for both sides of the story, but obviously we want it to be successful for both Wade and for the Sharks. He may come out all guns blazing in the off-season and in the trials, and he may force his hand on a form point of view to be a starting back rower. Alternatively, he may find himself on the bench, and that may be the role you're talking about, Lee, where he can feed both sides of the ruck and he can be sort of creative, I guess playing a slower style of game, probably on limited minutes compared to what he's used to. We'll wait and see on that. Thank you, as always, for your support. Shout out to Fraser, who wishes a happy new year. Thank you very much. Thank you for your continued support. This one's from Tim, and he says he's unhappy about what's available to purchase with the voucher in the 2023 membership. Keen to hear what listeners think on this way of doing things through their feedback. Just not happy with the products. He'd much rather the club go back to including standardised quality inclusions in the members pack for the simple reason they are a quality usable product. The question he's asking is, why are you including these valueless items in the membership packs? That's from Tim, and we'll have to hear more from other people about that subject. If you have an opinion, send it in. Another jersey, that's the account name, I think, sent a really cool Velvet Underground and Nico reference, which I got, and he said, thanks, I'll see myself out. We did get a message from Stacey, and she said we were her number one listened to podcast of the year, which is fantastic. Pointed out that Fins Up is number 2. That was quite funny. We had a little bit of a joke about that. She's obviously a big fan of both podcasts, which is awesome. We did get a whole bunch of people tagging us in their end-of-year stats on whatever kind of app they listen to, so cannot thank you enough for all of those, and we love seeing it. Fantastic. All right, so thank you to everyone for being in touch. Really appreciate it. Can't say that enough. I know I say it a lot, but I mean it every single time. We'll be back with more regular episodes coming up very shortly. Please continue to be in touch. Please continue to follow us in however way you do. Take care out there, and we'll speak to you soon. SharkCast Pod signing off. Up, Cronulla. Hey folks, we finally have some merchandise available. RugbyLeagueMerch.com is where you'll find SharkCast merchandise. RugbyLeagueMerch.com. Hats, t-shirts, stubby holders, coffee mugs, just for a start. A lot more coming in the season ahead. RugbyLeagueMerch.com. We've kept the prices down as much as we can. Check out the fine print for postage, but we do believe that Scott at Rugby League Merch is doing a great job. Happy to align ourselves with him, and any questions, please drop us a line. Check out RugbyLeagueMerch.com for all your SharkCast merchandise needs, whether it's for you or a family friend or anyone else in your tribe. So check it out, RugbyLeagueMerch.com.
Sharkies! Sharkies!
Fafita tries to crash his way over. He does. Fafita got the ball over the line.
And to all you people back in the Shire, turn your porch lights off because we're coming home with a trophy.